As you may be aware, yesterday we had a slight problem with supposed bailiffs from the court, the High Court, apparently, turning up to Julia's house and serving a writ, or at least that's what they said. And you may see there was a video yesterday I put out. I was calling for help, and I just wanted yesterday to say everything has been resolved. However, there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and Julia, as I mentioned before, is recovering, and we're going to go through the footage that we shot, and we'll share to you the situation. But also, we want to also discover what lessons could be learned and share that. I mean, I don't want to hijack the show just for our own personal issues, but if there are lessons that other people can learn from our mistakes or things that happened or observations of procedure by the police and indeed by the debt collection agencies or supposed high court bailiffs, then this information I think is valuable, because we were very lucky that we have a network around us, of course, who can come if there's a problem. People turn up. And I just want to say a big thank you to all the emails and all the comments, the nice ones, that is. We just ignore the detractors, of course. And to say big thank you for all your concerns and all of that. And yes, once we've sifted through the footage, we will definitely do something. Julia will be here and what have you. She's just recovering from the injuries that she suffered, and she's deciding whether she wants to go ahead and press any charges and all of that. Anyway, so I'm grateful to two particular correspondents and friends of the station, or of the channel, I should say, for sending in some information. And I thought that in this video, I would just share some information that might be of use to other people. And really and truly, these sort of documents need to be available on the wider availability to everybody, so that should you be in a situation where unexpectedly, like on a bank holiday, when you least expect it, a couple of thugs turn up at the door with the help of the police, another bunch of thugs, and demand money, and using menaces and threats and fear, come along and seize your property. Or extract payment from you. So I want to read out a couple of things. So this is really just me reading out some information that might be of use. So let's start, first of all, Stan, who got in touch, Stan McDonald, a regular contributor to the show, wants to talk about the warrant, and let's find out what that means and the legal ramifications of all of that. So he says here, a warrant of control and a warrant of entry are two different types of legal documents that serve different purposes. A warrant of control is a legal document issued by a court that authorizes an enforcement agent to take control of goods belonging to a debtor to recover a debt owed, whereas the warrant of control is typically issued in relation to a debt owed to a creditor, such as a local council or authority, and is used to enforce the debt through taking control of goods. A warrant of entry, on the other hand, is a legal document issued by the court that authorizes a person, such as a police officer, to enter a property and search for evidence, or to perform a particular action, such as to arrest a suspect or execute a search warrant. The warrant of entry is typically issued in relation to a criminal investigation to enforce the law. A warrant of control does not permit entry into a property. It only authorizes the enforcement agent to take control of goods belonging to the debtor to recover a debt owed. The enforcement agent is not allowed to force entry into a property to seize goods without the debtor's consent or without the appropriate legal authority. If the debtor refuses to allow the enforcement agent into the property or to take control of goods, the enforcement agent may apply for a warrant of entry or a warrant of arrest to gain entry and seize the goods. However, these type of warrants are used in relation to criminal investigations or to enforce the law and are not typically used in debt recovery cases. He says, I hope I've cleared that up for you, so next time you get anyone claiming to have a warrant of control, be aware that this is not permission to enter your property. Any warrant must be signed by the police. And thank you, Stan, for that. And actually, in our incident, there was no sort of suspicion that they wanted to break into the house. They were specifically after a vehicle on a private drive, which Julia very wisely had placed her car in front of, even though they clamped hers as well briefly. But you'll see the shenanigans and illegal activities that went with there. I would just, myself, I've heard that the term goods, when they say we want to take control of your goods, legally, I understand, and I'm here to be corrected, that goods means something in commerce that is up for sale. Well, if you're not selling, if you're not in business to sell something like your car or any of your private property, then it can't be goods, can it? But that may be just semantics. Let's move on to the next bit. Was from another friend called Derek, who says the following. It is illegal for the police to assist anybody, including a debt collection agency, a bailiff, or an enforcement officer. That is Criminal Justice Act 2015, Section 26. A debt matter is a civil matter and therefore not subject to police intervention. The police can only observe, and where a criminal offence has been committed and witnessed, allegations are not fact, arrest the offender. Otherwise, the police attendance is purely to keep the peace. That comes from, I think, the Protection of Freedoms Act 2012, Section 4, Paragraph 4(1). However, the registered keeper is not evidence. Sorry, I've missed a bit here. The alleged debt in relation to a vehicle may be sought against a registered keeper. Sorry, that's the Protection of Freedoms Act 2012, Section 4, Paragraph 4(1). I beg your pardon about that. However, the registered keeper is not evidence of a vehicle ownership. And it says that on the V5 form on page 1. It says this document is not proof of ownership, and I think most of us now are beginning to understand that. It shows who's responsible for registering and taxing the vehicle. The alleged debt is against the registered keeper and not the vehicle. Therefore, any alleged debt, proof of claim and evidence to substantiate the owner must be provided, the owner of the vehicle, that is. So I'm assuming that when they come for a debt at somebody's house and they say, well, we're going to take your keeper, then you go, well, I may be the registered keeper of that vehicle, but am I the owner? Because if I'm not the owner, you can't take that away. I'm just the keeper. It's not a proof of ownership. So in theory, they shouldn't be able to take the vehicle away, because unless they can see that you own that vehicle, they don't know it's yours. A child could be a registered keeper in the name of it, or a trust could be or a business, but that doesn't make it an individual man or woman. So that's a very interesting point, I think. Let's just continue here with the Fraud Act 2006. Fraud is defined as an act to cause someone a loss or to make themselves or another a gain. And we see this in sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, fraud by false representation, and in this case, we don't know 100%, but it does seem like the shysters who turned up were false represented, saying they were a High Court writ coming out on a bailiffs from a High Court writ coming out on a bank holiday. Fraud by failing to disclose information. They didn't have any lanyards. They didn't show us any information, refused to show that. And fraud by abuse of position. Section 7 says making or supplying articles for use in fraud, such as documents, ID cards, etc. And in Julia's case, as you'll see when we show the footage, that they were only showing what could have been a JPEG or a Photoshop manipulated picture on a phone, not actual paperwork. So that in itself could well be part of Section 7 of the Fraud Act, making false documents. And finally, Let's look at the trespass. Trespass is civil, and until it becomes aggravated trespass. Upon request to leave, a person, including the police, the bailiffs, the enforcement officer, the debt collectors agency, or any other member of the public, until they commit an aggravated trespass by hindering a person to go about their life unhindered, including by distress and alarm and fear of violence and force being used. So I read that slightly weirdly. So unless it becomes an aggravated trespass, then it's not a crime. At this point, the police are required to arrest the offending trespassers. A High Court writ can only be served by the named individual on the writ. Should the said writ be presented by an agent, then the agent doesn't have the authority, as the writ is specifically for the individual. The individual must serve the court paperwork, otherwise it's not deemed served. And now that's really interesting, because I didn't get to see the paperwork myself, because this was aimed at Julia's partner, and Julia was there defending her property and her house, and we were all there to support. And there was this, as you'll see in the video, just on a phone, and it was unsigned. And I don't think it was named that these particular people who turned up to so-called High Court writ bailiffs were actually named on the document, which there, as you can see, the individual must be written on the court paperwork. So lots of lessons to be learnt, lots of information, but I share this because this might be of use to you. We all are, in the same boat. We're pushing back against authority. We're pushing back against these people, and to be forewarned and forearmed. So from our point of view, we've learnt a lot, because should this happen again, or if we're supporting other people, which we're more than happy to do if they're in our locality and we can come to their aid, having this knowledge now is absolutely paramount, because I think we are able to push back more and more the more knowledge we have. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. And Julia's signalling to me. She's just coming in now.
Just wanted to say thank you very much for everyone for showing concern and care and support. So thank you ever so much. It means a lot. I'm just going to go and continue recovering.
Yes, go and powder your nose, as they say. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.